Donald Trump's war of choice against Iran is facing new scrutiny amid reports of munition shortages that threaten to limit the American military's options as this war drags on. Trump himself is struggling to respond coherently to the story. He switched between calling the reporting fake news, casting blame for the shortage on the Biden administration's support for Ukraine, and pledging to hunt the sources who leaked it to reporters. Here's what he said yesterday when confronted with his own contradicting stories.
You posted overnight that the U.S. has a massive amount, and you denied that there were any shortages. There is a supplemental request for $21 billion to restock. So why is that request still there? If there's
because we need more all the time. I mean, we need more. Look, we gave tremendous amount to Ukraine. The Biden people did. And they were given free of charge, no charge.
Okay, so if you're keeping track at home, he landed on option 2, blame someone else. But an analysis by the Center for Strategic and International Studies disputes that reasoning, noting, quote, the vast majority of items provided to Ukraine relate to ground combat, specifically shorter-range Stinger missiles. That CSIS analysis instead points to the war with Iran as a larger factor in depleting stockpiles of long-range interceptor missiles like the THAAD and Patriots, as well as surface-to-surface Tomahawk missiles. Based on CSIS analysis on the Defense Department's 2027 budget and on publicly available information, we know that the U.S. military had 2,330 Patriot interceptors in its stockpile before the current war with Iran. Now, Patriots are short-range interceptors that can intercept things like cruise missiles, drones, and low-flying attack aircraft. It now has between 900 and 1,270 after 6 months of war. Patriot missiles cost $3.9 million each. Before the war, the military had 360 THAAD interceptors in its stockpile. THAAD stands for Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, and as the name suggests, they are used higher in the atmosphere and intercept medium-range missiles. It now has between 70 and 170 remaining. THAAD missiles cost $15.5 million each. Both are defensive missile systems used to intercept drones and missile strikes. Tomahawks, on the other hand, are longer-range missiles that can be launched from a ship or a submarine or from land and hit targets deep inside enemy territory over long distances. Pre-war stockpiles of about 3,100 Tomahawks have shrunk to about 2,000 over 6 months of conflict. Those missiles cost $2.6 million apiece. The Department of Defense is requesting billions more in its budget for munitions manufacturing. These are complicated devices with a very long supply chain to manufacture and deliver. According to estimates from CSIS, Patriot missile orders need a 42-month lead time to delivery. THAADs and Tomahawks have an even longer lead time, 47 to 52 months, respectively. Joining me now is Barbara Starr, former CNN Pentagon correspondent and author of Barbara Starr Reports on Substack, and, of course, an old friend and colleague of mine. Barbara, it's great to have you on the show again.
Great to be with you, Hallie.
What do you make of this? There are wars, and we've used a lot of missiles. I'm not sure how useful the blame game is, but what's your take on where we stand?
Well, look, it's a problem of simple arithmetic. You fire stuff off, you got less stuff left to fire, especially if it's going to take months to replenish your stocks. The president's right when he says, the U.S. military always wants more in inventory, more in the stockpiles. But look, while they're shooting off all these interceptors and all these missiles, the question is, to what end? Is there progress in this war? Is all of this military activity going to get Iran to the table for a final deal to give up its nuclear program and open the Strait of Hormuz? And will we have, something that passes for a more peaceful atmosphere in the Middle East? I think it's very unlikely. History tells us time and again that, number one, air power does not win wars. And number two, wars are won through diplomacy. They're won at the negotiating table. They're not won through military power that doesn't seem to be registering at all with the adversary. The Iranians are holding on, and they're holding on tight.
So how much of this, I wanted to put the cost of these missiles in because they're super sophisticated. Sure. You and I have both seen how they work. I mean, it boggles the mind that they can intercept missiles traveling inbound at remarkable speeds. How much of this expenditure of these interceptors has to do with the use of drones by Iran?
Well, that's really the interesting calculation, isn't it? Because the Iranians are very skillful right now in manufacturing large numbers of relatively good, cheap drones that they are using, along with some of their missiles that they have left. But they're relying a lot on these cheap drones. So while they may be, and I'm making this number up, they may be firing a drone that costs them $30,000 to make. The U.S. is firing back with a missile that costs, $1 million plus. And that's another good reason why this type of warfare, it's just simply not going to work. How long do you stay at it? Do you empty out your coffers? Remember, the president said at the very beginning that this would be an easy war, easy to win, that would win fast. Well, by all accounts, that's what Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told him. And now Hegseth is trying to shift the blame why the weapon stocks are running low.
Hegseth talks a lot about readiness in the military. He's very concerned about low testosterone and fat generals. But with respect to readiness, we have an adversary out there with whom we're not at war, China. And there's this issue with Taiwan. And while I think China has better ways to be an adversary to the United States than start a war, they must be looking at this thinking, we don't have enough for a third front right now.
No, I don't think by any account. In fact, there's reporting out there today that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Kane, is looking for some type of off-ramp that he can credibly offer to the president to get out of this thing. You can't keep this up, one forever. And then the real question is how much longer? Because the fundamental question, when Hegseth says, I didn't know about the shortages, I don't think they're real, it's fake news, the president doesn't seem to be aware of it. That's just a lot of baloney. I mean, how
that can't be true. If that's true, then neither of them should be in their jobs.
Well, if it's true, they have no curiosity about what they're doing. But, every war plan, every mission has a risk assessment attached to it. And they constantly monitor the inventory of weapons around the world. This is something that is looked at very carefully almost every day, especially when the U.S. is in combat. They have to know what's left in the Pacific, what's left if there's a situation with North Korea or China. What's left and where is it and how fast can you get it there and what assets do you have? So I certainly would hope that Mr. Hegseth knows everything there is to know about this. He doesn't seem to be indicating that he does know about it.